Now, one of the most exciting announcements from PlayStation's 2021 massive showcase was the announcement of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake coming to PlayStation 5 as a console exclusive and also coming to PC. However, there seems to be delays with this project, as according to PocketLint.com, in late July 2022, reliable Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier broke the news that the game has apparently been placed on pause by its developers, with no timeline in place for its release after the firing of some senior staff on the project. Now that's massive, where his tweet goes on to read, "News: the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is indefinitely delayed. Bloomberg has learned. Developer Aspyr abruptly fired 2 directors this month and told staff that the project is on pause as it tries to figure out what comes next." Then in August 2022, it was reported by Jason Schreier that the publisher Embracer was in fact moving the game's development away from Aspyr, handing it to a team from Saber Interactive that had been supporting development already. His tweet goes on to read in August 2022, "Scoop: the highly anticipated Star Wars KOTOR Remake has been moved from Texas-based Aspyr Media to a Saber Interactive studio in Eastern Europe. Parent company Embracer hinted at the transition last week." Now, this is a big move by the studio, of course, and is also very concerning as the project is so anticipated but hasn't been spoken about by any of the team over at PlayStation recently, anyway, since that the initial announcement at the 2021 showcase. Jason Schreier also says in an earnings report, Embracer said it's not expecting any material delays from the transition, but of course developer pivots like this are rare and almost always lead to delays. The game is at least 2 years away from completion, says people familiar. It's basically damage control by the devs, as they won't obviously straight out say that this game is in some sort of development hell when it's quite clear from all these reports. The previous directors must have showed a working prototype of the game to Sony, and in which they decided that they did not like what they saw. And this led to the directors being fired and a transition of the entire game over to a brand new dev team, Saber Interactive, in Eastern Europe. I mean, that's like a massive, massive shift, isn't it? Like having an entire game move from a Texas-based studio to Eastern Europe is kind of like even like giving it to a developer studio halfway across the world as well. Anyway, continuing on Jason Schreier's tweet, Embracer hinted that the game was moved due to quality issues, and we know Sony have the highest regard for quality, especially if we look at their recent games. Continuing on Jason Schreier's tweet, Embracer hinted that the game was moved due to quality issues. People familiar with development say that Embracer, as well as stakeholders over at Sony and Disney, were not happy with the Aspyr's progress. Some say they're optimistic about the transition in the long run. So there it is. Not only were Sony's PlayStation team unhappy with the Aspyr's progress, but also Disney's team, Disney's stakeholders, and some execs, and probably in the gaming department, and those overlooking the Star Wars IP. And quite honestly, the PlayStation team are the ones to trust. I mean, look at their games on PS4 and the recent God of War Ragnarok, even the quality of games like Forbidden West, which I haven't played because I feel like it's a lot of people saying it's like a boring game, but the polish and the graphics and just the technical aspect of the game is incredible. So of course we want like storylines to be extremely good, but that's kind of something that they don't have to really worry about with Knights of the Old Republic Remake, as the original game was so beloved and they have literally all these storylines already sorted for them. All they have to do is kind of redo the voice lines and stuff from that game. Even games that did not do so well, like Days Gone, one of my favorite games of all time, you could tell this game was a prestigious game. It had that pristine quality of a PlayStation game under the PlayStation studio. I'm still relieved that the game has not been cancelled, and it looks like even the execs over at Sony and Disney, they didn't want to cancel the game. They thought it still had that potential. You know, this is something that people are looking forward to. So they didn't want to go ahead and, you know, call for the game to be cancelled, but rather they are optimistic, as Jason Schreier's tweet said, about the transition in the long run. So I'm glad that this game will be getting a life, hopefully, and it really is going to be going in a good direction from now. And what it looks like so far is another team is working on it, and they are probably starting again from scratch, maybe, or maybe even from like step 2. And whatever was shown was not liked by all of the Disney and Sony execs. Jason also goes on to say, I guess it's technically true that there won't be any material delays when the game has no release date in the first place. Now, I want to read what Pocket Lint says when it comes to gameplay and combat. A big question mark that does hang over the remakes is exactly how much it will change gameplay wise. After all, while the original KOTOR is beloved, its combat system might feel pretty archaic now. Compared to modern updates of the same type of top-down RPG controls from games like Divinity 2 and Baldur's Gate 3, whether we still get turn-based combat at all isn't even something we can be confident about. The developers at Aspyr, which were handling the remake, have confirmed that they did want to stay true to the original game's story and to bring the gameplay up to modern standards. That could mean anything, of course. However, moving away from combat, we can be confident that we're still going to be getting the RPG where you can move around various hubs, talking to characters and picking up quests and equipment to keep improving your party. So the game could have been shown to Sony with its old controls and didn't like it, or with its new controls and they said, you know what, this isn't quite working for us. So we have no idea really what Sony and Disney execs didn't like. It could have been the graphics and was similar to a remake of the GTA Definitive Edition scale. I think Sony want what I really want, and that's a next-gen, visually insane game with ray tracing and 4K highly detailed textures. Open world with deep and rich characters and weapons to find. A game that retains everything that made the original KOTOR special, with some new side quests and some new material added to the original. They want a gameplay that is for everyone, so I'm going to say they want the over-the-shoulder third-person action game that is easily playable for everyone who picks up this game. Turn-based will definitely turn some people off, but you could definitely keep it in the game and have it as an option. However, that is very hard to do, and I really think you have to go one way or the other. So the safe bet is the over-the-shoulder third-person action that you can manually control and ditch the turn-based combat. I think that's what they should do, and that's what I want, if I'm being honest. Like, I really want to control, have that kind of control that we've seen in Jedi Fallen Order, that kind of combat, that manual combat that we can actually control without being turn-based. I really prefer that. I want that satisfaction of dismembering people. I don't know if they will have dismembering in the game, but if the original did, I doubt it would be gory. I guess you can dismember aliens and stuff, but I also want some like humanoid type, humans. I want humans in this game. I want that kind of, majority, a lot of some amazing characters are humans in the Star Wars universe. So I do want to have that. In terms of RPG elements, you have to keep that in the game, of course, and revoice all the lines of dialogue and reanimate cutscenes from the ground up with those 4K visuals and graphics and details. There is already so much to the original game, so there is much work to be done in remaking all those assets and reanimating and the new AI and adapting certain stories into modern day, and you gotta add new content to it. I think you definitely have to. Will they remove stuff? I gotta say, my bets are that they will remove some things, especially if there are things I don't agree or whatever with this modern day political landscape. Then you can bet they will remove certain things that that would kind of maybe be offensive to people, and I really hope they don't. I want everything to be retained from the original game. Also, this game was massive, and perhaps they can't add everything because there is too much, and adding everything will add to the dev time and cost money, so that's another factor in terms of removing things from the remake of the original game. They could even go a direction where they can split this first game into 2 parts, very similar to how Square Enix is handling the Final Fantasy VII remake, where they're going to release the second part of the first game. Now, according to Game Rant, the KOTOR remake was reported to have been in development for 3 years, with an internal release goal of 2022. This was never officially announced, though a few months after the Black Series line of Star Wars figures did announce new toys based on KOTOR Remake's Darth, Malak and Bastila Shan, stating that they were years from release. As a more realistic window of 2025 was reportedly and internally floated around Aspire, but hopefully the wait is worth it. So I think with Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game that also may have a release date of 2025 to 2026, we can expect Knights of the Old Republic Remake in that same time frame. It's also a very similar game, both will be open world RPGs, and I assume they will also both be third person action adventure RPGs with next gen visuals, and which will kind of target the same audience. There's definitely room for both, as we haven't really had a game like this since the original KOTOR games, so there is a desperate need for more open world Star Wars games as we want to explore this galaxy and these worlds and meet these new characters within this universe. Perhaps they will look at when these games are ready and will have them released with enough time between them, with one releasing in 2025 and maybe the other one in 2026. And we also know that the Ubisoft Star Wars open world game will be getting a lot of post-launch content support, as they have done with their recent games like Valhalla and Far Cry 6. So in that case, if the Star Wars Ubisoft game comes out first and then the next year KOTOR Remake comes out, you can have some kind of cross promotion to kind of market the open world Ubisoft game by adding some armor sets that you would find in the KOTOR Remake and adding like the Darth Revan armor set into the Star Wars Ubisoft game. Of course, these games are a long way away, and I'm so glad that it hasn't been cancelled. I really am happy about that, and hopefully that maybe we could get some more teasers this year, like a little teaser, maybe another cinematic teaser, like maybe a minute long one this year, and just kind of let people know that this game is still coming, and maybe we could get that in the 2023 PlayStation Showcase, which hopefully we also get one this year, as we missed out last year and we didn't really get one. But the 2021 showcase was amazing, and the 2022 State of Play was sensational. So I really want Sony to create a massive 2023 showcase and also have something, anything, even something so small about this Knights of the Old Republic remake. But guys, let me know what you think about this. What are your expectations for this KOTOR remake? What do you want to see? What do you think will be removed? When do you think this game will be released? And is there anything in the original Star Wars KOTOR game that could be offensive? Would it be like something that, how these kind of developers now are taking out, like, or like these movie, like this entire industry, not just this industry, not just the gaming, but everything in entertainment, it's been looked at under a microscope, and if there's something that's slightly offensive, everyone goes crazy about it. And is there anything in the original KOTOR game that could be found offensive or not politically correct that could be taken out? Which I really want everything to be retained from the original games. I mean, that's what a remake should be, in my opinion. Everything retained from the original game, but with updated graphics and modern controls, or even added content. I think instead of removing things away, add content instead, add new side quests, add new characters, add all these new details and stuff, which I think is the right way to go. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace out, God bless, and let me know in the comment section below what you guys think, and I hope to see you in my next videos. Take care, guys.